Welcome back to the Paranorm Girl podcast. I am your host, Kristen. Today we begin our foray into the monstrous and creepy cryptids and creatures of Appalachia. And we will kick it all off with a discussion about shapeshifters. There are numerous figures of mountain lore, historically speaking to modern day encounter reports, who have the ability to change their form. Plays a pretty big part in their creep factor and says a lot about people, that it affects us so. It's unnatural, ain't right, but it's also quite mysterious and intriguing. As we know, these early inhabitants in the region brought with them beliefs about things like magic, medicine, and tradition. It was no different when it came to creatures, entities, wilderness beings, and so on. Some ideas didn't quite translate to the New World, some ideas partially stuck, and some would culminate with other beliefs energized on new soil, reinterpreted in a new world, and transform into something, well, new, but still familiar to them. But some of the most fearsome critters were born on American soil. Let's begin with shapeshifters that were already native to the area, the ravenmocker and Spearfinger. The ravenmocker is a supernatural being in Cherokee tradition and is rooted in their cultural and spiritual beliefs. It is not simply a run-of-the-mill monster hiding in the woods waiting to get ya. It's a malevolent, witch-like entity who gains life force and longevity by stealing it from the most vulnerable, namely those who are gravely ill and close to death. For every day to month to year a dying person may have had left, a ravenmocker will gain, causing their own lifespans to extend far beyond that of regular humans. It works its evil in the dark of night, its arrival announced with the whoosh of wings and a bone-chilling caw, an animalistic sound not quite raven, a primal cry not quite human. Their scream is far too distorted to be mistaken for either, but too distinguishable and paralyzing to be anything but the death caller. Often they will appear in the form of an elderly person, aged, withered, frail. This is not their true form. It is a deception. Only a skilled shaman and those with powerful medicine can see them for what they truly are. The ravenmocker is not afraid of much, but they are afraid of medicine men and women. They are afraid of being truly seen, because to be seen condemns them to death within 7 days. Or so the lore goes. Depending on the interpretations, the ravenmocker can shift their appearance and take on the form that best suits their needs. As mentioned, they can take on the form of the harmless elderly. They can also take the form of a bird or bird-like creature. You may also witness them as a shadowy figure with glowing eyes, or a fiery shape with wings outstretched, trailed by sparks as it glides through the air like a phoenix, accompanied by the sounds of flapping wings and stark caws as it makes its way to feast. It is thought, unless a shaman is present at the bedside of the dying person, ravenmockers will gather, shifted now into something invisible to the naked eye, and proceed to torment the individual to death. From the Sacred Formulas of the Cherokees by James Mooney. When it becomes known that a man is dangerously sick, the witches from far and near gather invisibly about his house after nightfall to worry him and even force their way into his bedside unless prevented by the presence of a more powerful shaman within the house. They annoy the sick man and thus hasten his death by stamping upon the roof and beating upon the sides of the house. And if they can manage to get inside, they raise up the dying sufferer from the bed and let him fall again, or even drag him out upon the floor. The object of the witch in doing this is to prolong his term of years by adding to his own life as much as he can take from that of the sick man. Upon the person's death, the ravenmockers remove the heart without leaving so much as a mark or a scratch on the body, and then they set about consuming it. The heart is what holds the longevity the mocker seeks. This is a precious small window of time. An already dying person must be killed prematurely so that their heart can be consumed in order to absorb any of the time they would have had left if nature had been allowed to take its course. It should say something that the raven mocker was not only a boogeyman for the Cherokee in general, but in their folklores about it, other witches were afraid of this entity. According to James Mooney, they would scatter like pigeons should they hear one coming. Spearfinger is also a witch-like entity. Often, it takes the visage of an elderly woman or someone familiar from the community to lure an unsuspecting victim to her, or the visage of the unsuspecting victim who got too close. With the new disguise, Spearfinger could then easily gain access to the person's village and their family home, where she would wait until nightfall and one by one take each family member's life before fleeing back to her own home unnoticed. The Cherokee believed she lived in the Great Smokies atop Chiloe Mountain. She would hunt by taking the form that best served her and then wandering down trails and near villages close enough to civilization to catch a straggler or someone going for water unawares. Come to me, help me. I am but an old woman. I am but your friend from the village. Trust me. Come closer. Then, when they have come close enough, she may revert to her true form, a nasty old witchy woman, eyes ravenous and greedy, her stone-hard skin suddenly materializing. And from beneath her shawl or robe, she would remove her right hand to reveal her weapon. Like a sword from a sheath, her long, bony, spear-like forefinger would emerge. My, grandmother, what a long, sharp finger you have. All the better to stab you with. And that's exactly what she would do. She'd shank you. Preferably, she'd do it with your back turned, and when you were least expecting it, hence all of these shape-shifting abilities. She's got to keep you calm. Keep your guard down. That way, she could take whatever she wanted and steal away into the night because, as the Cherokee tell it, getting you with her strong hand didn't hurt at all. You didn't even feel it. And not a drop of blood left behind as evidence. She would have attacked and be halfway back up the mountain before the victim suddenly didn't feel so good. A little woozy, getting the vapors, and then, die. Why did she do this? Go to these lengths? What was it that she was after? Livers! Yum, 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 yum. They are nutritious, after all. Ugh. Grody. I have tried it before, man. I have tried. Happy to tell y'all, I, Paranorm Girl, am not of Spearfinger lineage. 'Cause liver is disgusting. That's exactly what a Spearfinger would say. I know, right? Lucky for all of us, according to Cherokee lore, Spearfinger is no more. They took care of her. Now, I mean, here's the tale. Preface to this story. Tribe members would go out into the forest come fall time to gather chestnuts. The way they would do this was to burn the leaves. The roasted little chestnuts would fall to the ground, and then everybody walks around, collecting them. Well, a fire like this would certainly attract attention from an interested party, and if they knew that that fire meant a bunch of liver owners would be creeping around the woods, eyes downcast and unsuspecting of threat, they'd quickly be on their way towards that billowing smoke. But nobody said Spearfinger was smart, because the tribe was very well aware of her activities. They were losing people left and right. They had to come up with some plan to stop her and save their remaining people. They decided they needed to devise a way to entrap her and then let all of their warriors at her all at once. They weren't sure exactly what would happen or if their arrows would even do much damage against her stone-hard skin, but they had to try. They'd cross that bridge when they got there. So they dug a giant hole right on the path heading into town. They covered it up with branches and grass, enough to completely hide it in plain sight, and then they lit a giant fire. Now they didn't have to wait long before an old woman appeared, shuffling toward them. The woman looked like someone from their own village. No one made a peep. The woman approached. No one shot a single arrow. She came closer. They waited expectantly. She came closer, closer, close. Oh, no, fell right into the pit. That was easy. Upon her fall, she immediately turned back into her true, vile, seething, evil form, brandishing her long spearfinger about. They had her. But now what? All of the warriors gathered around the pit and began to unload their arrows on the creature, one after the other, all to no avail. No match for her skin shield. Suddenly, a little titmouse perched upon an overhanging branch and began to sing, un, 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 un. The warriors thought it was saying the word for heart. And I really don't understand why the story has to go this way. But anyway, the tribespeople thought it was saying heart, and so began directing their arrows at the creature's heart. Ting! Patong! Ding! Every arrow ricocheting or breaking upon contact. And so they grabbed the little titmouse and cut out its little tongue, 'cause it was liar, liar, pants on fire. But then a little chickadee suddenly appeared and perched upon Spearfinger's spearfinger. It was a sign. Aim for the hand. And so they did. And you know what? It worked. Because lo and behold, come to find out, Spearfinger's heart was located in her hand. She dodged and weaved within the pit, now understanding the real trouble she was in. But it wouldn't take long for someone to let fly that lucky arrow and bring Spearfinger to a close. The moral of the story is don't help others and trust no one. 'Cause why? Why did they cut out the titmouse's tongue, though? He was right. 100% correct. Heart. He said heart. Ugh, these folk tales got me stressing out, peeps. But anyway, Spearfinger is long gone. Or is she? The story is still passed around. The legend lives on. Perhaps the question about this terrifying creature creeps into folks' minds. What if she wasn't just a folktale? What if she didn't die? What if there was more than one? Though I have not heard any first-hand accounts of run-ins with what would qualify as anything remotely resembling Spearfinger, the legend seems to be alive and well enough if TV shows record episodes about their search for her. And they do. Locals to Appalachia who are listening, were you told about Spearfinger growing up? Was it relayed to you as just some fairy tale, or was it something you were warned to be currently aware of? What are y'all's thoughts on the matter? The next one I wanted to at least give a nod to. It's not technically an Appalachian shapeshifter. It's an Appalachian adjacent shapeshifter, but we can totally see its influence in paranormal lore that would translate into Appalachia proper. The Boo Hag is a creature of Gullah Geechee folklore. The Boo Hag is a witch-like entity who enters people's houses at night to sit upon their chest in order to suck their breath and life energy from their body. This causes folks to awake the next morning drained and aching, if not entirely dead. This action of sitting upon the chest is also referred to as riding. Early Appalachian thoughts about witches included this feature, that they could ride a person or animals in the night. Fear of witches, in general, was very real, and you really didn't want them anywhere near your home or property, and you did what you had to in order to protect against witches. Now, the Gullah Geechee people and their traditions and folklore reside along the coast, stretching from North Carolina through South Carolina, Georgia, and ending in Florida. Many of their traditions and folklore specifically did not translate across the mountains, but many did. And even more would morph and commingle with all of the other traditions and folklore and entities and beliefs in order to become something new or just altered from the original idea. We can see many features of the Boo Hag included in Appalachian beliefs revolving around witches, haints, and in general, forest dwelling spirits or entities. Things that come in the night, things you don't want in your house, things that might come should you whistle in the forest. Don't do that. The Boo Hag was thought to quite literally be able to take others' skins and wear them so that she could move about her day unnoticed. That was similar to deep Appalachian belief that witches could take on others' forms, but by magically assuming their form rather than the whole skinning and buffalo billing part. So I guess technically speaking, different strokes for different folks, not just the Boo Hag, but other witches as well, could be considered to be in the shapeshifter category. The Wampus Cat. I guess we're hitting all the witchier female ones right up front today. So, the Wampus Cat was a wild goose chase I was not at all expecting. Thought this one was going to be easy. There's so much out there about it. Here's the wall I ran into immediately. Legend has it, this Wampus Cat is deeply embedded in Cherokee lore. This is not something I could confirm, try as I might. Boy, did I try. It is included in 0 Cherokee stories or legends that are available online or in any of the books I was able to snag that included their stories and legends. It is a legend that is still attributed to them. It's even referred to by some as the Cherokee Death Cat. There are a lot of variations as to the legend, but the more widely spread legend about the Wampus Cat includes a character named Running Deer, and one named Standing Bear, and a demon spirit of madness named Iwa. While Running Deer and Standing Bear are real indigenous names, and there are even documented historical figures with these names, there are 0 legitimate Cherokee stories or actual folkloric legends that include these characters. There is also no demon or spirit of madness named Iwa in Cherokee mythos that I could find. We have heard the word Iwa come up during the season, though. It is of African origin and is the term for intermediary spirits, which we discussed back in our episode about magic where I delved into the creation of hoodoo. I had assumed the Wampus Cat, being such a popular story in Appalachia, should easily pop up in the collection of Cherokee stories available to us, and at the very least would definitely be relayed in Mooney's Myths of the Cherokee. It's just not. But because I can't seem to leave well enough alone, and because my brain becomes obsessed with unexpected things, I had to get this confirmation from a source who would know much better than I. So I submitted my Wampus Cat inquiry to the Cherokee Nation Research Center. I was a little embarrassed after the fact. A lovely gentleman named Gene responded to let me know that in his 31-year association with the CNRC, he'd never heard of a Wampus Cat. He was able to recommend someone at the Resource Center who might know better sources and storytellers and the tribe's traditions, and suggested I reach out to them, and I did. Unfortunately, I have not heard back from her, but I do expect more of the same if she does end up responding. It just feels weird to be this one little voice standing firm on the concept that the Wampus Cat has been misattributed to the Cherokee this entire time, and in reality is quite a recent creation formed by what seems to be native and other cultures' influence plus Appalachian creature storytelling tradition. But stand firm I must, because it's just the truth. That being said, people have claimed to see some kind of creature that resembles a half cat, half human lady, reportedly since the late 1800s, out in the backwoods and hollers of Appalachia. And despite its Cherokee connection or no, there have been various theories and beliefs regarding this creature over the years, not only about it being real, but regarding its ability to change from lady to cat creature and back again, which would classify her as a shapeshifting being, kind of like a feline werewolf. Speaking of werewolves, the king of all shapeshifters. And you bet you juicy tush, Appalachia's got him. Here's a very interesting sighting report from not too long ago out of North Carolina. Credit for the story goes to Werewolf Legends on Facebook. So there was a mother and daughter driving in the Blue Ridge Mountains just outside and heading in the direction of Franklin. This took place around 11 at night on May 8th, 2024. When they came around a curve in the road, they saw figures standing off to the side of the road. As they got closer, they made out some odd features. Fur-covered, pointy ears, massive jaws, standing on two legs, eating pieces of what we have to assume is recently hit deer out of their clawed hands, blood dripping down. Terrified, they gunned it past the creatures and would not stop until they reached West Virginia, but a mere 7 hours away. Poor gals, if they only knew West Virginia's got 'em too. What is fascinating to me about the werewolf is that it's not a simple creature that we can just pull from the archives of native legend or Celtic lore alone, chalk it up to misinterpretations, religious fervor, beliefs, or misunderstanding throughout history of people's psychological and physical maladies that made them seem a little too crazy or a little too hairy. It's not even so simple to say the werewolf as a concept is just our way of facing the beast within and the fear that primal urge causes within us all and wiping our hands clean of it. It is indeed a great metaphor for it, though. But I've become very intrigued, unexpectedly, as most of these topics tend to go, by the werewolf as a topic worth more than a cursory glance, for two primary reasons. The idea of the werewolf is hella old, first making its appearance in literature in 1800 BC. I had no idea. And second reason, even in our modern age of logic and science and skepticism of things strange and unusual, people are claiming to see these things. And we are not talking about crazy, drawn-out interactions that just seem too fantastical to believe. The story of the mother and daughter was not what I would call some dramatic confabulation. The description of what the creatures looked like is odd, of course, out of the norm, but their account is rather quick and non-climactic. And that makes sense, considering a very human reaction to seeing something scary that isn't expected as you're whizzing by in a car would be brief. It's not the craziest story you've ever heard, but seems kind of valid. There's legitimacy to it. And that is a prevalent theme in other witness accounts of cryptids of the canid variety. And the mother and daughter story is just one of so many. So many. And if you're wondering, okay, Kristen, where are all these modern-day werewolf sighting reports then? Ain't nobody talking about seeing no werewolves. Look no further than sites dedicated to dogman research. You may disagree with me on this, that they are one and the same, but I am not going to split fur hairs about this here. I suspect the dogman is the modern-day werewolf. And if that's a valid suspicion, you can imagine my excitement over discovering every single state in Appalachia has a werewolf legend. Kind of weird, kind of cool, right? Most people can't agree on much, but canine cryptids are another matter entirely, apparently. Virginia claims the Henrico County werewolf. Pennsylvania's got a canine creature called the Clarion County what is it? So clever, so creative. In West Virginia, the Webster County werewolf. In Tennessee, the werewolf of McNairy County. Also out of Dixon County, they've got the local legend from the mid-1800s of a circus train derailment where two wolf men, half-man, half-wolf creatures, escaped and made their den near what is now called Werewolf Springs. South Carolina's got the Anderson County werewolf and the Pickens County dogman. Mississippi has got a whole pack of dogmen near the town of Taylor. Maryland claims the Dueo, but of course, another well-known Appalachian werewolf, Kentucky's LBL Beast, the land between the lakes beast. Georgia's got a really interesting story, and it is actually based on a real person named Emily Isabella Burt. It is said she had the ability to transform into a werewolf. She's referred to simply as the Georgia werewolf. There's a lot of details to that particular story. Let me know if you want me to cover it in depth. Georgia also has the Gilmer County dogman. Another female version comes from Alabama, the Wolf Woman of Mobile. New York! Hey, buddies! You thought you were safe from lycanthropes because you ain't got any well-known legends? Think again! I was able to locate 3 separate modern accounts of dogmen over on dogmanencounters.com. Those eyewitness accounts are from Tioga County, Broome County, and Oswego County. So, if you live in and around those areas, watch out, guys. Dogmen coming through, okay? Ohio has dogmen. Boy, do they ever. In 2022, Ohio was named one of the top 3 states for dogman sightings by the people over at the North American Dogman Project. And finally, North Carolina. Y'all be killing me with all your cryptids, creatures, hauntings, high strangeness. I'm just joking, of course. I think it's super cool. I get a little kick whenever your state comes up in the search for literally anything. You guys are solid for a good story. Solid, I tell you. North Carolina's got local werewolf lore from Pettigrew State Park. The mother and daughter's sighting that took place outside of Franklin, so they got them there too. And then there's an argument to be made for the demon dog of Valle Crucis. I talked at length about this creature during our Death Omen episode, but it was in relation to black dog lore because this critter seems to only be spotted on and near the grounds of a certain church cemetery. But if you recall in the final story I relayed to you about it, the witness watched as this larger-than-life wolf with glowing eyes stood up on its hind legs and gave chase as they drove away. Totally irrelevant to our current discussion, but it did come up in the research and was interesting to me. Allegedly, there was a dogman sighting just yonder up the road from me over in Idaho. Man, I thought I left all that mess behind when I left that Rougarou back in Louisiana. Come to find out, I could just throw a rock and hit one here too. So I feel for you, Appalachia. I really do. Beliefs supporting werewolf lore have definitely evolved over the centuries. In early times, people became werewolves by devouring human flesh or by wearing wolf skins. In the medieval period, the werewolf was linked to witchcraft, and one could transform themselves by partaking in certain magic and rituals and cavorting with Satan himself. People truly believed in werewolves. They were monsters, and they were to be feared. About the time that the witch burning frenzy was really kicking off. People were commonly accused of lycanthropy and were swept up into all that. In the 16th century, a man in Germany who was found guilty of being a werewolf was tortured and executed for it. He admitted to having killed many people while in wolf form, and he actually did do that, so I wouldn't feel too terrible for him. Before dying, he would reveal he gained his werewolf abilities when the devil gave him a magic belt, allowing him to turn. Beliefs and opinions about the phenomenon would continue to change. As time went on, it was thought perhaps a curse or witch's spell was responsible for the transformation, rubbing the naked body with a magical salve, or it could be the result of divine retribution, having been cursed by God or a saint. Then it could have been a bite from another werewolf. That was another one. Then later in pop culture, the transformative addition of a full moon entered the belief lexicon, along with the idea that silver bullets could stop them. It was once thought a werewolf could be identified while they were in their human form if they had a unibrow, curved fingernails, low-set ears, and a swinging stride. Others believed they would have hair under their tongues, and if you should cut their skin, you would be able to spot fur just beneath it. Lots and lots of differing beliefs from different areas and time periods. But one thing that has not really changed in all that time is its shape-shifting attributes. So it is up there on the list for Appalachian shapeshifters, for sure. But that does raise some interesting thoughts regarding Dogman that I now have to consider because I suspect that they are one and the same, if it is indeed a real cryptid. Shapeshifting is not something I have heard in discussions about Dogmen. But if they are one and the same, do they retain that shapeshifting ability? And if so, monstrous beasts may be walking around in human form amongst the Appalachian people, undetected, every day. All right, let's get into our final shapeshifter. This entity is one of the most terrifying entities I have ever come across. There's a lot of mystery that surrounds it, which certainly doesn't help. What is known about it, though? Well, it's generally agreed upon that it does not have your best interests at heart. It's out to get you. It's deceptive, cunning, intelligent, is not and has never been human, and wherever it is, whatever it is doing, this thing has the ability to hide in plain sight. You can be looking right at one and not know it until it's too late. And you, ever so unaware and unsuspecting, let it right into your room. I am referring to the mimic. Stories and videos of these things seem to come in from all over the place now, but I distinctly remember my earliest introduction to them hailing from Appalachia. The mimic, as I understand it, is an entity that can sound and appear like people that it has encountered. It's a predator, have no doubt, less interested in attacking openly, but passively, patiently utilizing deception in order to deceive the witness. It hides, waiting, watching you, studying you, learning you. Your voice, your expressions, your mannerisms, your name, relationships. To what end? I guess that's part of the mystery. I don't think the fear that it is doing these things in order to lure you away from safety, in order to kill you, to disappear you, is out of the question. And then, once it adds your likeness to its bag of tricks, it can then deceive your loved ones and do the same to them. Mimic lore gets wrapped up with the rules of Appalachia. Don't stare in the trees. Don't whistle. To add to the list of rules, you also don't want to say your own name or others' names while you're out in the forest. And you actually don't want to speak all that much while you're out there either, because the mimic While it has this incredible ability to replicate what it sees and hears, this is also its greatest limitation. It can't ever say or do anything it has never seen or heard you do. And as for the not staring too hard into the trees or responding to a voice, you don't want to acknowledge it. This is like an invitation to it. You may not realize it isn't who you thought it was until it's in conversation with you, up close to you. And then the stakes are even higher at that point because now you've got to pretend, believably, that you haven't figured it all out. They say you will know a mimic for what it is, because as good as their performance is, they can't get it completely right, because they don't know what it is to be human or alive. Their expressions will be too static, their smile too wide, their reactions unusual for the situation. Reportedly, their voice can have a kind of metallic or robotic tinge. They may repeat themselves in an unusual manner. But if you notice these things, you got to keep that card up your sleeve. It's thought the mimic becomes very dangerous once it knows that you know. We can't know for sure what its end goal is, I guess. Videos that you see and stories you hear of mimic encounters are allegedly from people who grew wise to the mimic and avoided misstep. It would go without saying, we probably wouldn't hear from folks who perhaps responded to the familiar voice, followed the family member into the woods, allowed the familiar but not quite right replica of their loved one right into their home. Nobody knows what the mimic actually looks like, which may be the most terrifying aspect of all. How do you fight an enemy with no face or form aside from the ones it wears? Now, there are many who will tell you that this Appalachian mimic character is nothing but a recent creation of horror trends, paranormal and no-sleep subreddits, creepypasta, and the like. It was created by us within the last 2 decades, therefore it's fiction. Case closed. But I'm going to leave you with this thought that I had. Just a little nugget to chew on while you are trying to go to sleep tonight. It's not a new entity. It may be an old one, actually, who has been with us since the beginning of human history. The identifier of mimic is new, for sure. When the behavior of mimicry evolved to become an actual name for something, that is new, yes. But the entity behind the word who embodies the behavior, or I guess the concept of the entity behind the word, is ancient. The marked behavior of this entity evokes primal fear because it is old. It shows up everywhere and across cultures, everywhere in the world. Something that can copy voices, replicate faces, perform familiar behaviors, the key word being perform, because the fear we feel begins there. Recognition of a performance. That moment we realize it's not quite right. There's something off. And what we are interacting with is not what it is claiming to be. While the mimic behavior is seen all over the world and across all cultures, here at the end, I will focus on the ones who would have directly influenced our modernized and Western ideas of the Appalachian mimic: Native, European, and African. Native influences include the ravenmocker and spearfinger, as previously discussed, but also the wendigo. In certain interpretations, I will need more time to dig into this creature to avoid some misrepresentations of it in our modern times, but my current understanding of it, of its behaviors, is that it is an incredible imitator of voices and uses this ability to lure victims. Through the European lens, we see fetches, changelings, fairies, puka, There's the German doppelganger, and the cross-culturally widely shared and very old concept of a demon. In our season about demons, I did at that time speak to the demonic ability to appear and sound like loved ones, but you would know the demon by the thing it got wrong. Because it has never been human and doesn't understand what it means to be alive. So strange to me now. I did end up skeptical of the biblical idea of demon, but instead I pondered if it couldn't simply be a misidentified something else. I could not have known at that time that I might very well be coming full circle on that idea today while talking about the Appalachian mimic. That's what the show is partially about. I've had this theory since the beginning of this journey that there is a through line, something, some force, some energy, some entity that ties it all together. I don't know. I'm just going to file that one away for later. Let's continue. The African influence. African folklore contains numerous deities and various other entities who use their abilities to shapeshift and mimic voices and sounds for reasons ranging from good and benevolent to harmful and downright dangerous. African folklore has quite a few standout trickster entities. The trickster archetype can be a master of disguise, can be the greatest of deceivers. The trickster has come up more times paranormal-wide than I can even remember at this point. So, all of these early people to the country brought these centuries-old entities with them. Fast forward to the present, now we have this entity we simply call the mimic. Could it have been there the whole time, being called by 1,000 other names before mimic? Has it been with us since the beginning? Might be something worth pondering that could explain the prehistorically embedded uncanny valley response. To sum up my thought, what if the mimic is not a recently created entity of pop culture? What if it's been there all along, under the guise of many entities and the many names we have called it? What if we don't know what it looks like because when it's not appearing like the humans it sees, it's appearing in its natural states and we just assume it is those things: demon, fairy, hell, extraterrestrial, Bigfoot, shadow person, you name it, let's go crazy. Almost every entity can attest to this trickster element. What if this mimic is the evergreen trickster, the great deceiver behind it all? Whatever it is, it's creepy as hell, no? But also, send me your mimic encounters. Please. Creep me all the way out, you guys. Send your nightmare fuel to paranormalgirlpod@gmail.com. Appalachian Shapeshifters this is just the start. I have got tons more creatures coming your way. Hang on to your butts, guys. In non-creepy Appalachian news, but just as exciting, my dreams of becoming the voice you fall asleep to as I relay creepy stories and interview guests may be coming true after all. I have recently been invited to take part in a project that has been in the building and development stages for a little over a year, I believe, that many of you might be interested in once it is available to the public, which will be taking place this year. Paranormal FM is a platform for the paranormal community made by the paranormal community. Imagine this: a 24-hour radio station dedicated to the paranormal, where listeners can go to hear some of their favorite podcasters and broadcasters while discovering brand new ones, remain in contact with creators on the station, discuss favorite topics, and learn with like-minded listeners in group chats and special interest threads, play games while they listen, all while forming the bedrock of a creator-friendly and supportive platform. Creators will find a non-competitive home for distribution. Listeners will find the content they crave while also finding the community aspect that sometimes is lacking on platforms that make it so hard to just find our people. Plus, folks from the paranormal field, period, will find an information and entertainment hub for research, stories, and most importantly, open discussion on Paranormal FM. PFM's core mission and how it is structured is something I've not seen anywhere else, and I'm beyond thrilled to be a part of it. I will be talking about this at length a little more as we creep up on the official launch, but I was given the green light to give my listeners the heads up. So keep your eyes and ears peeled for the official announcement. Better yet, join the wait list. Get notified when it's go time and be the first to come through our doors. I've got that link for you to check out down in the show notes. If you enjoyed the show today, please don't hesitate to give me some love. Various ways to do so include leaving a nice rating and review on listening platforms, commenting, liking, and subscribing if you heard it on YouTube, following the show on all socials at Paranormal Girl Pod, and by sharing the show with a friend who may enjoy it as well. Word of mouth, sharing the link, telepathy, I will leave it to you and appreciate it so much. And I appreciate you all so much. Thank you so much for tuning in. I will catch you guys back here on the next one. Until then, stay safe, keep the nightlight on, and sleep with one eye open.